Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.
I had no idea shuriken were so blunt and brittle. It's like I pelted them with a biscuit. Welcome to SUPERHOT, or rather you are now using SUPERHOT. Across the game you'll find enough tidbits to answer that question, with a couple of questions still remaining. I'll leave it there in the story fridge to prevent spoilage, but suffice it to say for some reason time moves slowly, and only speeds up when you move, and you're in a white void reminiscent of reality, fighting red polygonal people who weren't sanded properly, and oh yeah, they crumble to death like life-sized raw candy. And obviously this is awesome, most notably for your ability to dodge bullets, because it's been a while since we've had any sort of Matrix game. Plus you can slice a bullet in the air. Okay, now go, dispatch some people. Fire a pistol, shotgun, assault rifle. Punch them in kind of a grimly realistic way. Or at the very least an unpleasantly crunchy one. Or maybe bash them with something you pick up. Or maybe slice them with that katana. Order it now. It will deliver the same perfect cut every time. And finally possess your way to victory. But it's surprisingly difficult to succeed even with this power at your disposal. You have to be careful and thoughtful. This gun has this many shots and I have this many enemies. That's the distance I have to cover to get to the next available weapon. This enemy has a shotgun. That enemy has an assault rifle. But you can't stand still like it's a puzzle game because even though it moves very slowly, eventually the bullet will reach you. And multiple bullets are difficult to dodge. And quick, you're empty. Throw your gun at someone and then catch theirs in the air. And once you've completed a level, you can look at your work in full speed. Although in all fairness, a lot of times it looks less impressive than it did in slow-mo somehow. Although I suppose the epicness of catching a weapon mid-air at this speed is kind of lost. Plus at full speed the movement looks a bit stilted. Even slow at times. But in spite of that, especially for long runs, it has the capacity to display a beautiful work of pugilist poetry or death-dealing doggerel, if you're more of a ranged type and don't mind unnecessarily fancy words. Playing this game you will see some true action movie stuff. Very thrilling, but first you have to get into it. At first I was a tad underwhelmed. Probably because I was expecting something that felt faster, maybe something less cerebral, but hang in there, you will start having fun, potentially quite a bit of it. The campaign is a sequence of levels with no connecting theme, unless being shrunk down and playing inside of a scale architectural model is a theme. You just get dropped into different scenarios with some bold flashing instructions. To stylize it, and quick side note, just some due diligence, I'm not sure if the flashing text, or that big flashing moving corridor that plays once you select continue, will be a problem for people with epilepsy. I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm just putting it out there, but it seems very bright. And maybe it even caused me some eye itch. At first, when I completed the level and got that super hot loop, I found it quite annoying.
Hot. Super hot. Super hot.
But even that grew on me. These campaign levels are periodically interrupted by story segments, a story that does trot upon some well-worn ground. AI and stuff, but the quality does jump up quite a bit when story is being relayed through secrets. You will find these secret consoles where you can ask SUPERHOT a question, and usually it answers the question by not really answering it. It's rather cagey, or maybe it's toying with you. But these Q&As do give more information and add a sense of mystery. The game doesn't have much dialogue, but these secrets that slowly develop a portrait of SUPERHOT, a prospect that I believe SUPERHOT itself doesn't really have an interest in, are splendid. And it makes a story that otherwise may be a bit unoriginal better, injects a reason to care. Plus the core ending sequence is spectacular, as was the letting go end sequence. Surprisingly affecting, if a touch predictable. Although in this case that may have made it worse. You'll notice pretty early what you're walking towards, and what you're about to do. So ultimately the story is enjoyable, but that enjoyment is mostly predicated upon you actually looking for the secrets. Looking for the secrets takes longer than the combat element of the game. And it can be difficult to start doing because the levels have enemies who try and kill you. And if you kill all of them, you don't get a clean level that allows you to search on your own time. The level ends. And after you complete the campaign mode, there are challenge modes, many of them, that employ the campaign levels with different conditions applied to them. Such as this challenge deals in time trials, or this mode where you play the campaign levels equipped only with a katana, with different visual flourishes being added for certain modes. But these challenge modes didn't really capture my attention in the same way, because I didn't really have the desire to replay the campaign levels. And some of the new mechanics that certain modes deal in can be a bit jarring after all that time getting used to the official ones. But those challenge modes are there if you're interested. And also there are the endless modes, which I actually did get into just as I was about to stop playing. It's just a bunch of different levels that act as arenas for you to kill infinitely spawning enemies until you die. Just you and them perfecting your technique. And the more enemies you kill, the more levels and level variants for the mode you will unlock. So at least there's an arbitrary stopping point for you to use. Visually, the game is effortlessly cool. SUPERHOT said it itself. Textures are distracting. Plus, red, white, and black is a very impactful color combination. And enemies crumbling and scattering into pieces of crystal is beautiful. I bet you can mine these people for rubies. And once you go past the official facade of the level looking for secrets, you'll find some trippy constructs. In a different context, this would have been downright creepy. The game isn't very long though. I completed it with all secrets found, putting very little effort into the challenge modes, plus I killed enough enemies in endless mode to unlock most of the levels and level variants. And all of that combined took me about 9 hours. The game is cheap on Steam, 149 Rand full price, 59 Rand 60 on sale. That's 6 Rand 63 per hour of gameplay, which is okay. I've definitely seen better and worse. Although this may be one of the cases where the value for money deviates noticeably between countries, because over $1 an hour, or almost £1 an hour, sounds like a lot. And to download it doesn't have a great size, as it takes up 4.07 gigabytes on the hard drive. Once again, I've definitely seen worse, I've definitely seen better. But still, it's an ask, especially for 9 hours of gameplay. And it doesn't really work on the Warhorse. I mean, it does play, but it's very laggy. And asking the question, is it playable for this game, is kind of difficult to answer. Sure, the mechanics involve slow-mo, and that slow-mo makes it feel much more playable in this state than it actually is. I wouldn't be surprised if I, back in the day before I could afford a PC upgrade, would have made do. Maybe even happily. But I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it's unplayable probably in this state. Perhaps arbitrarily when you consider some of the other things I've okayed, but even reducing the resolution didn't help. Actually, somehow it made it feel worse. You're going to need something stronger than the Warhorse to play this properly, because most of you won't agree with young me. At least stereotypically, I would say it's kid-friendly. There isn't blood, although you do kill a lot of people. And sure, some of the imagery is rather creepy. And sure, on occasion you'll do some scary things. So maybe keep it away from some. I'm sure a lot of them can handle it. And also, as mentioned, the game is maybe a bit flashy and bright, perhaps a higher than usual risk for epilepsy. But hey, I'm not a doctor. There was no warning as far as I remember. But once again, due diligence. The game has lovely, clean, striking visuals, with trippy secrets and rock candy enemies. At times it comes across as a bit pale, lonely, creepy and sad, but in a good way. Like the void it is. And the story is good when elevated by the secrets and the interactions with SUPERHOT. And arguably without those interactions, the story is nothing to write home about. At times it's predictable, and it goes over some well-trod territory. But as mentioned, for at least one segment, that helped. The game has great gameplay and a great premise that can make you feel like a supernaturally good secret agent thing. Also, looking for the secrets and finding them is fun, before you consider their impact on story. But usually it requires you to avoid and deal with enemies before you can actually start looking for them, which can be quite annoying, especially if you accidentally kill the last enemy of a level and have to start from scratch. On the maybe side, and this probably better explains why at first I wasn't completely on board with the gameplay, because I was expecting something else. The action is more about good decision making and analysis than brutality and speed. Well, it can still get pretty brutal, but I maintain my stance on speed. And on the con side, some of the added challenge modes don't really feel like worthwhile additions to me, because they take place on the same campaign mode levels with modified conditions. And the mechanics they add in the challenges I played didn't really add that much, weren't that different. For instance, I mentioned the mode where you can only use a katana, and there's another one where punches are lethal. Not necessarily game-changing, although perhaps obviously it was pretty cool to go around on every level with a katana. On that mode I actually participated in quite a few of the levels, but honestly going through those levels multiple times isn't for me. And sometimes the mechanics are just different enough to be jarring, after having spent all that time getting to grips with the official rules and mechanics. Come on, play it! Pfft. People say older cell phones were built better. Were hardier, more durable and reliable. But see here, they fall apart the moment they hit a torso.
Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.